As has been said, my name is Laura Clift, and I am a member of Lakeside United Methodist Church. Presently, the significance of Lakeside United Methodist Church is it was the first school for colors. The basement of the church was used as the school, and it was rented by the city of Huntsville. Now, how did that all come about? We have had and still have people in the church who are and have been influential in the city government, in education, in all walks of life. So much so until they talk about our church as being the church. You have to have a lot of education to come to our church. But that's not true. I just throw that in. The basement of the church on Jefferson Street, where there is a historical marker, if you have an occasion, go to read it, and you'll find the site where the church first began. Now, I am the third historian of Lakeside United Methodist Church. The history of the church was written by Mrs. Marguerite Lacey, who has now gone on to her reward. And the other historian was Mrs. Mary Chambers, who has also gone on to her reward. And I have been the historian for 10 years. And I say all of that to say that I did not write the history of Lakeside, but I am learning more and more about it. For instance, about 2 years ago, two women from the Church of Nativity came to talk with me because their history included our church. And I have the book here. And inside is the church pictured, and I was excited, I guess, to hear that we kind of are an offspring of the Church of Nativity. The Church of Nativity is located on Eustis Street, and that is the site where it began. But the building that is currently there is not the first building. The first building was to the east of that building. And when the rector and the diocese, I think that's what it is, built the new church, then the Freedmen Aid Society, who had come to the South to build churches and schools for the freed slaves, then that was a vacancy. And so that is actually where Lakeside started, on that ground. And when the Freedmen's Aid Society got money from other entities that were supposed to provide education after the Emancipation Proclamation, then the church was able to build a frame building on Jefferson Street. And it was in the basement that the school for colored boys and girls was started. And that happened because several of our members were aldermen. In the form of government that we had at that time, Dr. B.E. Scruggs was instrumental in going to that organization and asking and opening the door for school to be in the basement of the church. And this was in 1867. School for blacks were held there until 1890. And then it was moved to its location on Davis Circle, which you'll hear more about that. But one other interesting thing about Lakeside is the fact that the first library for the boys and girls were, and anyone in the city of Huntsville, happened at Lakeside. It was started by Dulcina DeBerry. Dulcina DeBerry lived, and she wanted to read books. She liked to read books. And so she went to the library here in Huntsville, the public library, and she found that she could not come in to the library. And so that made her more determined to get busy and get some books. And so she was a member of Lakeside Church. And she, with the aid of the librarian here at the Huntsville Public Library, Elizabeth Beaugrand, and they became very good friends, and she helped her to organize that library. Of course, it was only there for a short period of time because, keep in mind, this was a basement building, and it was damp and cold, and so it was only there for about 6 months. And then it moved to Winston Street School, and it was there for a period of time because they still could not use the Huntsville Public Library, the black boys and girls, the colored people. And then it went from Winston Street to Councill, near the Councill High School, in a frame building. And when the city wanted to use that building, then they had to vacate that building, and the library was then in Calvary Hill School. So it really had 4 locations. The personnel in all of the schools, I knew them because I am a native Huntsvillian, and I attended Councill High School. I did not attend grades 1 through 12 because I lived in a housing project, Seminole Drive, and that was a county, that was in the county, so I could not go to Councill High School. I had to go, when I finished the 8th grade, to Councill Training School, because at that time the city of Huntsville lines came no further than Von Braun Civic Center, Westwood, and so I had to go to Councill Training School. Then when the lines were moved further past Seminole Drive, we were then in the city. The housing project, Benford Court, was in the city. And so I had to come back to Councill High and graduated. So now I am proud that I am in the alumni group of Councill Training and in the alumni group of Councill High. There are a few of us that I know that have that favor. But the school for Councill High started in 1890 when it left the basement of Lakeside, starting in 1867 until 1890. So someone else, I think, is going to take it from there. But Lakeside has a long history. It has a very important history in our city.